Hare Krishna. Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Yes, Prabhuji. Om Jnana Tirumandasya Jnananjala Salakaya Satguru Militavena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobeshyam Stapinam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamakim Tadam Vishwada Padahankitam Vandeham Sri Sri Yuda Padakabalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagaganas Raghunadhanpitam Cha Jivam Satvairam Savadudam Parijana Sakhitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padaham Sadahana Lalitam Sri Vishakhanpitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopika Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavakeshwari Zabanu Sudevi Pranamami Hari Pre Panchakalpahari Evacha Paditha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Padithanam Pavaneshu Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. So today we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 14. Let's begin with you all explaining one or more points and asking one or more questions.
Vidura showing inquisitive and Maitri Muni, he was in ecstasy, and because Vidura was very keen, always asking, he was eager in hearing and wants to learn more of Krishna Katha, because the Lord is involved. Vidura was keen to learn. This is one point. Rest others can cover.
Okay, very good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, in chapter 13, when we were completing chapter 13, we learned about a word, Harime Dasha. So the Lord is making plans how to reclaim the conditioned souls. Because, we have become rebellious. The Lord comes, descends himself. He leaves behind the holy dhams, or he sends his representatives, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. Hari Me Dasha. This is what the Lord is constantly thinking about to how to get the rebellious souls back to Godhead. Very good.
Mayavati is called the Lord as illusion. Brahman is effulgence in their highest, but not the Lord. Krishna says he is everything and he is the Lord. This is Mayavati's statement.
Okay, Mayavadi's statement is very well known by now that they think Brahman effulgence is highest, but in reality, Krishna is the highest. Very good. Shivangi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you had mentioned in the last class that hearing the war topics of the Lord is as good as any other devotional service. I just had a question. Did you mean that hearing the war leelas is as good as hearing about like any of the other leelas? Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely correct. That there is no difference, and this is like directly coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no difference between Krishna doing Ras Leela with gopis and Krishna playing his Leela at the Kurukshetra war, or Krishna doing his Leela with the creation. there is absolutely no difference because Krishna is absolute.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Rest of you.
So the thing is, every human being should give an opportunity to take advantage of his human life. So, like Kashyapa is supposed to beget good children for the purpose of the liberation. That is the main goal for the parents.
Okay, yeah, human life is not meant for sense gratification, but human life is the only form where one can perform spirituality, and the purpose of human form of life is to purify and to go back home to Godhead. Very good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Just one more point I just wanted to make is when the prayers, the sages were offering prayers, these sages itself are from the higher planets such as the Jana, Tapa, Satya Lokas, when they were offering prayers, and when the Lord brought the earth out and water sprinkled on them, so it purified the sages. It shows humility by them, because they're saying that you made us purified by sprinkling water. And the sages themselves are saying that they don't even know even a drop of Lord Krishna, absolute form of Lord Krishna Prabhu. So it's the humility. So I was just thinking, like, what do we even know little bit, even not even a tiny point, whatever percent.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, the sages are intelligent people from higher planets, and they are demonstrating their humility that we don't know. So if you recall our yoga ladder class, I had shown that my ego makes me feel that I am bigger than not just our earth, not just one universe, but all the material world universes taken together. My ego says, oh, I am bigger than all of this. Okay. Any last questions, comments, realizations? Okay. So we'll continue from Canto 3, Chapter 14. We covered up to first 7 verses last class. The context or the recap is that Canto 3, Chapter 14 is titled Pregnancy of Deity in the Evening. Vidura is showing eagerness that I want to hear more and more because the Lord is involved. When Maitreya Muni described Nila Varahadev pastime also, therefore Vidura is showing more inquisitiveness to hear more. Vidura is inquiring, what is the exact reason for the fight between Nila Varahadev and Hiranyaksha? Because the Lord could have easily lifted the earth. So why did the fight go on for so long? In response, Maitreya Muni started explaining from the start that how Hiranyaksha took birth, that who Hiranyaksha is and how, why he took birth, how he took birth. All that background information is in this chapters 14 onwards. And Maitreya Muni is also appreciating Vidura, that Vidura made the right inquiries, because anyone who hears the answers to Vidura's inquiry will become free from birth and death, because these are topics of Krishna. One of the key points from our today's discussion is that material nature fools all conditioned souls, and material nature makes everyone hurt themselves by use of their own energy. And conditioned souls are so bewildered that they don't even realize that material nature makes them forget the real reason for their suffering. The real reason for the jiva's suffering is because the jiva is not able to control the mind and the senses, just as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mana shashastani indriyani pakatistani karsati. From verse 8 onwards is part 3, verses 8 to 15. Title is Diti approaches Kashyapa for union in the evening. So in this section, Diti is giving various reasons for the union. Now, Diti's father Daksha had 16 daughters, including Diti, and 13 of these 16 daughters were married to Kashyapa. Excluding Diti, rest 12 wives had sons. Hence, Diti is giving various reasons and saying, I also desire a son. Gopal Prabhu, verses 8, 9, 10 translations plus 10 purport.
Hare Krishna. Text 8 translation. Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband, Kashyapa, the son of Marishi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. Text 9. The sun was setting, and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, whose tongue is the sacrificial fire. Text 10. In that place, the beautiful Diti expressed her desire. O learned one, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly, as a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. Purport. Beautiful Diti, seeing her husband absorbed in trance, began to speak loudly, not attempting to attract him by bodily expression. She frankly said that her whole body was distressed by sex desire because of her husband's presence, just as a banana tree is troubled by a mad elephant. It was not natural for her to agitate her husband when he was in trance, but she could not control her strong sexual appetite. Her sex desire was like a mad elephant, and therefore it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection by fulfilling her desire. Hare Krishna.
So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that we can derive lessons from Diti blaming Kashyapa, that how material nature works. Diti is blaming Kashyapa that if you are not there, then this lust will do nothing to me if I am alone. And since you are present, hence lust is attacking me. And therefore, for my lust, you, Kashyapa, are the reason. And you, Kashyapa, are responsible. Now, the strategy of material nature is to make ourselves, to hurt ourselves. Kashyapa is doing meditation, but Diti is blaming Kashyapa for Diti's own fault. And this is all the strategy of material nature. Material nature fools all conditioned souls, and material nature makes everyone hurt themselves by use of their own energy. Conditioned souls also don't realize that material nature makes them forget the real reason of their suffering. Jiva are suffering because jivas are not able to control the mind and senses, as is explained in 15.7 Bhagavad Gita. Manashashastani indriyani pakatistani karsati. They do not know this real reason, that because of nature I am suffering, because of my own false ego I am suffering, because of being conditioned by the three modes I am suffering. Instead of realizing all these, they are putting blame on others or external factors, that because of so and so person or because of this reason I am suffering, just as Diti is blaming Kashyapa. That if I, Diti, was in the forest, then lust will not affect me. But because of Kashyapa, lust is hurting me, hence Kashyapa is responsible. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, towards the last part of chapter 3, that lust does not belong in the female form or any other form. Rather, lust resides in our own mind, intelligence, and senses. And this is the learning we need to get from what Diti is blaming Kashyapa. That because of my conditioning by the three modes, I am the reason for my own suffering. Hence, I should blame myself. That because of my false ego, because of my tendency to enjoy, is why I am suffering. Just as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, that I want to become the controller, the enjoyer, the proprietor. And because of these tendencies, Jiva falls down to the material world. These are the real reasons for our suffering, not any external factors, not any other person. Questions, comments, realizations? We started with a little heavier bang, I'm hoping.
Again, would you please explain? Lust does not belong to any form. It is from within. Have I understood correct?
Yeah, so we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, from verse 36 onwards, where Arjuna asks that, okay, if I want to perform karma yoga, what is it that drags me away from karma yoga down to the material world? And Krishna responds, it is lust alone. Lust is the eternal enemy of the jiva. And Krishna gives the reciting places of lust as the mind, intelligence, and senses. And we have heard a Chaitanya Chanda's lecture that a small baby, like a female is holding a small baby, and the small baby may be touching the private parts of the female, but the child is not agitated, meaning the sex desire, the lust is not in the female form. Rather, the lust resides in the mind, intelligence, and the senses of both males as well as females. And then Krishna also gives the solution that situate yourself on spiritual platform. First, restrict yourself, regulate yourself, and then you'll be able to control lust. Uncle?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Shivangi?
Just a question. So the external factors, they bring out the lust or whatever other anattas are already existing within us. So the only solution is to continue just purifying, like practicing Krishna consciousness and keep on trying to purify, right?
Yeah, so we have heard in that same lecture in Bhagavad Gita from Chitran Chandas that lust does not reside in the female form. Lust may be provoked by a female form for a male, or for a female may be provoked by a male form. But lust essentially resides in the mind, intelligence, and senses of each individual, whether it be male or female. And therefore, we have discussed the very important verse in Bhagavad Gita 2.62, Dhyayato, that the moment we start imagining, that's when the fall down sequence starts. Shivangi.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Oh, okay. So, Dipanshu Prabhu, verse 11 and 12, translations and purports.
Hare Krishna. Verse 11, therefore you should be kind towards me by showing me complete mercy. I desire to have sons, and I am much distressed by seeing the opulence of my co-wives. By performing this act, you will become happy. But in Bhagavad Gita, sexual intercourse for begetting children is accepted as righteous. A person sexually inclined for simple sense gratification, however, is unrighteous. In deity's appeal to her husband for sex, it was not exactly that she was afflicted by sex desires, but she desired son. Since she had no son, she felt poorer than her co-wives. Therefore, Kashyapa was supposed to satisfy his bona fide wife. Text 12. A woman is honored in the world by benediction of her husband, and a husband like you will become famous by having children because you are meant for expansion of living entities. Purport. According to Rishabdev, one should not become a father or mother unless one is confident that he can beget children whom he can deliver from the clutches of birth and death. Human life is the only opportunity to get out of the material scene, which is full of miseries of the birth, death, old age, and diseases. Each human being should be given the opportunity to take advantage of his human form of life, and a father like Kashyapa is supposed to beget good children for the purpose of liberation.
So Diti wants to hide her shame. That she's saying lust is not the main reason. Rather, I also want son. And all my co-wives have sons. So Diti's in one of the purport will come up, Prabhupada says that Diti is trying to be very intelligent. Uncle will read verse 13 translation and purport plus verse 14 and 15 translation. But before that, Shivangi has a question.
Prabhuji, just a question on that. But she says that she just wants a son. So that's not, so she's not asking to enjoy with her husband for the sake of enjoyment. She's saying she wants a son.
Yeah, we'll discuss this in our class today, that that Kashyapa, when Diti makes all these requests, Kashyapa is going to respond saying that now is not the right time because it is evening time and ghosts are present. With all these are inauspicious signs. So you wait and otherwise, if you don't wait, you will get inappropriate children. So if Diti was only wanting a son, then she would have waited. But we'll read that she does not wait because the real reason is the sex desire. She's just trying to cover up her actual reason.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Uncle, 13 translation purport and then 14, 15 translation.
Hare Krishna. In days long ago, our father, the most opulent Daksha, who was affectionate to his daughters, asked each of us separately whom we would prefer to select as our husband. Purport. It appears from this verse the free selection of a husband was allowed by the father, but not by free association. The daughters were asked separately to submit their selection of a husband who was famous for his acts and personality. The ultimate selection depended on the choice of the father. Text 14. Our well-wishing father, Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 of his daughters unto you, and since then we have all been faithful. Purport. Generally, their daughters were too shy to express their opinions before the father, but the father would accept the daughter's intentions through someone else, such as a grandmother, to whom the grandchildren had free access. King Daksha collected the opinions of his daughters and thus handed over 13 to Kashyapa. Every one of Diti's sisters was mother of children. Therefore, since she was equally faithful to the same husband, why should she remain without children? Hare Krishna.
I'll read 15 translation also.
Yes. O lotus-eyed one, kindly bless me by fulfilling my desire. When someone is in distress approaches a great person, his plea should never go in vain. Purport. Diti knew well that her request might be rejected because of the untimely situation, but she pleaded that when there is an emergency or distressful condition, there is no consideration of time or situation. Hare Krishna.
So, in one of the purport we read, Prabhupada makes an important point that during Vedic times, free choice to select was allowed, but not free association before marriage. And then in verse 15, Prabhupada also makes another important point that Diti was thinking that she might get rejected because of the untimely situation. Hence, Diti is giving all sorts of reasons and pleading to Kashyapa. And in part 4, verses 16 to 21, title is Kashyapa glorifies his wife. We'll read and discuss that because Kashyapa was not strong enough, instead of strongly saying no, Kashyapa was trying to pacify Diti, and Kashyapa starts by first glorifying Diti. Shalini, verse 16 translation and purport, and then verse 17 translation.
Prabhuji, I have a small clarification seeking.
Yeah.
There is untimely situation means it is what?
It will come up. Very soon it's coming up.
Hare Krishna. Text 16. O hero, Vidura, Diti, thus being thus afflicted by the contamination of lust and therefore poor and talkative, was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words. Purport. When a man or woman is afflicted by the lust of sex desire, it is to be understood as sinful contamination. Kashyapa was engaged in spiritual activities, but he did not have sufficient strength to refuse his wife, who was thus afflicted. He could have refused her with strong words expressing impossibility, but he was not as spiritually strong as Vidura. Vidura is addressed here as hero because no one is stronger in self-control than a devotee of the Lord. It appears that Kashyapa was already inclined to have sexual enjoyment with his wife, and because he was not a strong man, he tried to dissuade her only with pacifying words. Text 17 translation. O afflicted one, I shall forthwith gratify whatever desire is dear to you. For who else but you is the source of the three perfections of liberation? Hare Krishna.
So three perfections of liberations refers to dharma, artha, kama. Now indirectly, he's saying that right now I don't want liberation, I only want kama. And because Diti also did not desire liberation. In verse number 17 purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that girl should follow chastity and boy should follow brahmacharya. Then the combination will be good for advancement of human mission. We discussed the advancement of human mission is to go back home to Godhead. So when the combination is proper, then they will beget Krishna conscious children. Therefore, it's saying that it will be good for the advancement of human mission. Verses 18 to 21, the Grahastha ashram is glorified, not blindly, but when a husband and wife are focused on spirituality and not on sense gratification, that's the situation of Grahastha ashram being glorified. Sridhar Prabhu, verses 18, 19 translations and 19 purport.
Hare Krishna. As one can cross over the ocean with seagoing vessels, one can cross the dangerous situation of the material ocean by living with a wife. Text 19 translation. O respectful one, a wife is so helpful that she is called the better half of a man's body because of her sharing in all auspicious activities. A man can move without anxiety, entrusting all responsibilities to his wife. Purport. By the Vedic injunction, the wife is accepted as the better half of a man's body because she is supposed to be responsible for discharging half of the duties of the husband. A family man has a responsibility to perform 5 kinds of sacrifices called Pancha Yajna in order to get relief from all kinds of unavoidable sinful reaction incurred in the course of his affairs. When a man becomes qualitatively like the cats and dogs, he forgets his duties in cultivating spiritual values, and thus he accepts his wife as a sense gratificatory agency. When the wife is accepted as a sense gratificatory agency, personal beauty is the main consideration, and as soon as there is break in personal sense gratification, there is disruption or divorce. But when husband and wife aim at spiritual advancement by mutual cooperation, there is no consideration of personal beauty or the disruption of so-called love. In the material world, there is no question of love. Marriage is actually a duty performed in mutual cooperation as directed in the authoritative scriptures for spiritual advancement. Therefore, marriage is essential in order to avoid the life of cats and dogs who are not meant for spiritual enlightenment. Hare Krishna.
Okay. The pretty straightforward verses about saying that when there is loss of personal satisfaction at the bodily level between two individuals, that results in separation or divorce. And the Grahastha ashram is glorified here when the spouses focus on spirituality. And this discussion continues in the next verses as well. Mother Jija, verses 20, 21 translation and 21 purport. we cannot hear you, Mother Jija. Okay. We cannot hear Mother Jija. Radha Shakti, verse 20, 21 translation, 21 purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Verse number 20. As a fort commander very easily conquers invading plunders, by taking shelter of a wife, one can conquer the senses, which are unconquerable in the other social orders. Verse 21. O Queen of the home, we are not able to act like you, nor could we repay you for what you have done, even if we worked for our entire life or even after death. To repay you is not possible, even for those who are admirers of personal qualities. Purport. So much glorification of a woman by her husband indicates that he is handpecked or is talking lightly in joke. Kashyapa meant that householders living with wives enjoy the heavenly blessing of sense enjoyment and at the same time have no fear of going down to hell. The man in the renounced order of life has no wife and may be driven by sex desire to seek another woman or another's wife and thus go to hell. In other words, the so-called man of the renounced order who has left his house and wife goes to hell if he again desires sexual pleasure, knowingly or unknowingly. In that way, the householders are on the side of safety. Therefore, husbands as a class cannot repay their debt to women either in this life or in the next. Even if they engage themselves in repaying the women throughout their whole lives, it is still not possible. Not all the husbands are able to appreciate the good qualities of their wives, but even though one is able to appreciate these qualities, it is not possible to repay the debt to the wife. Such extraordinary praises by a husband for his wife are certainly in the mood of joking.
So continues the glorification of the Grahastha ashram. That other ashrams are a little dangerous. That if they cannot control, then they will end up mating with another woman or another's wife, and result will be they will go to hell. And now in verses 20 to 29, which is part 5, title is Kashyapa's reasons for postponing union. So now Kashyapa gives various reasons to postpone the union because it is not the right time. And Uncle's question as well as Shivangi's question will get answered in this section. So Diti may say that no one is seeing. Hence, Kashyapa actually goes on to describe that Shiva has 3 eyes. Shiva can see, and Diti may end up getting ghosts as children. Shivangi, verses 22 to 25 translations.
Hare Krishna 22. Even though it is not possible to repay you, I shall satisfy your sex desire immediately for the sake of begetting children. But you must wait for only a few seconds so that others may not reproach me. 23. This particular time is most inauspicious because at this time the horrible-looking ghosts and constant companions of the Lord of the Ghosts are visible. 24. Lord Shiva, the king of the ghosts, sitting on the back of his bull carrier, travels at this time accompanied by ghosts who follow him for their welfare. 25. Lord Shiva's body is reddish and he is unstained, but he is covered with ashes. His hair is dusty from the whirlwind dust of the burning crematorium. He is the younger brother of your husband, and he sees with his 3 eyes. Hare Krishna.
So in verse number 24 purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Shiva is very kind to ghosts. And although ghosts are condemned, Shiva sees that ghost may get a physical body so that ghosts can satisfy their needs. So the time portion, inquiry from uncle already got answered here, that it was inauspicious time, as one of the reasons that Kashyapa explains, and that reasoning will continue in few more verses. In the next two verses, Kashyapa continues to glorify Shiva. Mother Chandra Aunty, verses 26, 27 translations.
Text 26. Lord Shiva regards no one as his relative, yet there is no one who is not connected with him. He does not regard anyone as very favorable or abominable. We respectfully worship the remnants of his footsteps, and we vow to accept what is rejected by him. Text 27. Although no one is in the material world is equal to or greater than Lord Shiva, and although his implacable character is followed by great souls to dismantle the mass of neophytes, he nevertheless remains as if a devil to give salvation to all devotees of the Lord. Text 28.
Hold on.
Unfortunately, foolish.
Okay, continue reading 28, 29 translations.
Text 28. Unfortunate, foolish person, not knowing that he is engaged in his own self, laugh at him. Such foolish persons engage in maintaining the body, which is eatable by dogs, with dresses, ornaments, garland, and ointments. Text 29. Demigods like Brahma also follow the religious rites observed by him. He is the controller of the material energy, which causes the creation of the material world. He is greater, and therefore his devilish characteristic or simply imitation. Hare Krishna.
In verse number 28 purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are two classes of Shiva worshippers. One is those who want only material benediction, and the second class are that after liberation they want to merge with Shiva. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, and this is described in Canto 4, that actually Shiva likes Krishna's devotees more than his own followers, because Shiva's followers are either wanting material benediction or wanting to merge with Shiva. Therefore, Shiva says, I like Krishna's devotees more. Shiva says, I like to give my association and in benediction to Krishna's devotees voluntarily, more easily. Although Krishna's devotees do not ask for my mercy and blessings, but I give my blessings voluntarily. Hence, Krishna's devotees are more dear to me than my own followers. So this is described in Canto 4, chapter 24, where the Rudra Gita is described. Everybody with me so far? Questions, comments, realizations? Shivangi, did you get your answers also?
Yes, Prabhuji.
This answers many people's perception and belief that Shiva is superior to Krishna. But here, Shiva himself voluntarily wants to give mercy as well as blessings to Krishna devotees.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, that you can definitely highlight these set of verses to those who may have that illusion that those who may have illusion that Shiva is the supreme. No, Shiva is not the supreme. Shiva is the Sadashiva is the devotee of Krishna, and the Shiva in the material world is just a demigod, is at the Jiva Tattva level, like you and me. Okay, very good. So part 6 is verses 30 to 36. Title is Union and Diti's Repentance. Gopal Prabhu, 30-31 translations.
Krishna, text 30, translation. Maitreya said, Diti was thus informed by her husband, but she was pressed by Cupid for sexual satisfaction. She caught hold of the clothing of the great Brahmana sage, just like a shameless public prostitute. Text 31, translation. Understanding his wife's purpose, he was obliged to perform the forbidden act, and thus, after offering his obeisances unto worshipable fate, he lay with her in a secluded place.
Pretty strong words. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds commentary that even though Diti was so informed with so many reasons, but she ignored. Hence, Diti is like a prostitute. Shiva has 3 eyes, and Kashyapa says he will punish us. That don't think Shiva as your brother. Now, why Shiva as a brother is because one of the sister of Diti is married to Shiva. So Shiva becomes the brother-in-law, or you can call it as brother also, for Kashyapa as well as Diti. So that's what Kashyapa is saying, that don't think Shiva as your brother or brother-in-law, because Shiva is equal to all. Shiva is very merciful to ghost, and sometimes Shiva will give physical form to ghost if anyone does mistakes. So I have described before about ghost that say somebody has a lifespan of 70 years and he commits a suicide at the age of 50. So for 20 years, his next body cycle is not ready. So for 20 years, this individual lives as a ghost. Now, because ghosts are at the subtle form, they do have some higher powers. And when somebody worships ghost, they may satisfy their tiny desire of the person who in ignorance worshipping the ghost. But simultaneously, the ghost goes on to occupy this person's body so that the ghost can satisfy his own desires that are left over for the 20-year time frame in the example that I gave you. So even with so much warnings, nothing could enter in Diti's ears. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes that lust devours discrimination. And the proof of this is Brahmaji among men, due to the Vak episode, that Brahmaji got attracted to his daughter. And the other proof is Diti among women. And when lust devours discrimination, they do not bother about self-respect. They do not discriminate. In verse number 31 purport, Srila Prabhupada compares Kashyapa to Haridas Thakur. Now, Kashyapa knew the rules, but he failed to follow. And on the other hand, Haridas Thakur was approached by a public prostitute, an actual prostitute, in the middle of night. But Haridas Thakur avoided the allurements of the public prostitute because of his perfection in Krishna consciousness. Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? Shivangi?
Prabhuji, just a question. Like this example is relatable to other situations too. So when you're so disturbed in the mind, when you can't listen to reason, what do you do then? Do you just find someone to talk to, like your sadhu sangha? What do you do?
Yeah, very good. Very good inquiry. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 as to what is the purpose of chapter 1. We have discussed the example with the Pratyaksha Praman discussion and the example of Kaikai. That don't hear your mind. And if you have to hear your mind because your mind is disturbed, then don't act what your mind is saying unless you speak to somebody whom you trust more than your mind. Meaning, when you are in doubt, refer to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. The example we have discussed in chapter 1 Bhagavad Gita is the example of Kaikai, that Kaikai heard a gossip from the maid, and she did not consult with anybody. She simply acted upon her own desire that I want my son to be the king. And Arjuna, on the other hand, demonstrates that Arjuna, when he was in doubt, Arjuna was in significant distress, that he could not think, he could not act properly. Therefore, what Arjuna did was he surrendered to the spiritual master and he did the three things of consulting with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra before he acted upon. And the other thing, relevant point, we have also discussed about 2.62 fall down sequence. So we have discussed about Dhyayato. Imagination is where the actual fall down happens. The actual fall down happens in the mind. Therefore, it is so very important for us to constantly recognize that mind is our problem. And we should constantly endeavor to give our mind a safe playing space of Krishna conscious activities so that there is very little room for the mind to get distracted in the first place. Just as you give the child a toy to play and keep the child engaged. If you ask the child to sit silently, he is not going to sit silently. Similarly, if you try to curb your mind and senses, it is going to be very difficult. Therefore, engage your mind and senses deliberately before the bad situation arises. Engage the mind and senses in Krishna conscious activities. Shivangi, very important question. Does that help you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, what I am going to tell you, based on what you said, which is true, that is why I don't know whether it is relevant to narrate. If you will permit me, I will narrate.
Yeah, go ahead.
In Kerala, that is very near to Cochin, there is a place called Sotanikara Bhagavati temple, where they drive away the ghosts. People behave in a different, weak-minded people are occupied by the ghost in their mind. And the relevance is, the ghost is driven away by the Bhagavad Gita. in what you were telling in 30 and 31, that the relevance of a right time for conception, what Diti was told by Kashyapa is true. And today it is authenticated by you to me. Because I used to see all those things when I go to the temple. The pujari is driving away the ghost. But only one thing, due to premature suicide, because you also explained that body life remains, if one has got a lifespan is 70 and commits suicide in 50, those 20 years, the bodily soul remains here. Thank you for that.
Okay, so it is the scriptures describing everything. So Srimad Bhagavatam already has everything that is going to happen in the future. It's already described. And it is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that drives away ghost. Okay. So in verses 32 to 36, Diti is repenting her decision. Shalini, 32 to 36 translations.
Hare Krishna. Text 32. Thereafter, the Brahmana took his bath in the water and controlled his speech by practicing trance, meditating on the eternal effulgence and chanting the holy Gayatri hymns within his mouth. Text 33. O son of the Bharata family, Diti, after this went nearer to her husband, and her face lowered because of a faulty action. She spoke as follows. Text 34. The beautiful Diti said, My dear Brahmana, kindly see that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva, the Lord of all living entities, because of the great offense I have committed against him. Text 35. Let me offer my obeisances to the angry Lord Shiva, who is simultaneously the very ferocious great demigod and the fulfiller of all material desires. He is all auspicious and forgiving, but his anger can immediately move him to chastise. Text 36. Let him be pleased with us, since he is my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister Sati, who is also worshipable, who is also the worshipable Lord of all women. He is the personality of all opulences and can show mercy towards women who are excused even by uncivilized hunters. Hare Krishna.
So Diti is repenting and she's saying that Shiva has two common names, Rudra and Ashutosh. Rudra means Shiva becomes angry very quickly. And Ashutosh means Shiva is also very easily satisfied and very easily pacified. So Diti knows that Shiva can become angry, but Diti is asking Kashyapa to pacify Shiva, and Diti is asking Kashyapa to pray to Shiva. In verse number 35 purport, the very first line, Srila Prabhupada writes that Diti is praying very cleverly. That because Shiva is also known as Ashutosh, and that Shiva is naturally merciful to women, therefore, Kashyapa, you please pray to Shiva that Shiva may not become angry on Diti. Everybody on the same page? Diti is now trying to be, first she was trying to distract her real reason, her real lustful reason by giving excuses. And now she is again trying to be very intelligent of asking Kashyapa to pray to Shiva, so that, oh, Shiva is very merciful to women. Please pray that Shiva does not become Rudra, but Shiva becomes Ashutosh. Questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, could you please elaborate? Here I am little confused. Why Shiva should be angry with Diti? Because she is the sister-in-law? Or he has got the third eye?
No,
He
because
sees everything.
yeah, Shiva becomes angry when somebody does not follow the rules and regulations. Therefore, Shiva has the third eye where he can see what others cannot see. So that's why he will become angry that you know the rules, but you still did not follow. Therefore, Shiva will become angry on Diti. Okay. So part 7 is verses 37 to 43. Kashyapa's prediction and Diti's request. Herein, Kashyapa will give predictions and Diti will also request that, no, Kashyapa, don't predict like this. Please change your predictions because your prediction is not good. Shivaki has a question.
Just a question, Prabhuji. Was Kashyapa Muni also one of the Prajapatis? Like, was his service to also populate
Yeah.
the earth?
No, sorry. Not Kashyapa Muni. That was Kardama Muni. So that is coming up in following chapters about Kardama Muni. Not Kashyapa.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Is Kalyani able to read 37, 38 translations? Otherwise, Sridhar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Maitreya said, the great sage Kashyapa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duties of offering evening prayers, yet she desired the welfare of her children in the world. Text 38. The learned Kashyapa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. Hare Krishna.
So in verse 38, 4 things are described. That mind got polluted, Diti's mind got polluted, and resulting in Kashyapa's mind also got polluted. And then it was improper time. Then Diti neglected Kashyapa's directions. Diti disrespected Shiva. Because of all these, everything became inauspicious. The rest of the verses are pretty straightforward. Mother Chandra Aunty, 39 to 41 translations. These are straightforward predictions by Kashyapa.
It's text 39. O Alti 1. You will have 2 contemporaneous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlike unlucky women, they will cause constant lamentation to all the 3 worlds. Text 40. They will kill poor, faultless living entities, tortoise women, and entrench the great souls. Text 41. At that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolt.
Okay, so straightforward predictions that demons are going to take birth from Diti because of all these inauspicious points that we discussed. Diti will now make a request. Dipanshu Prabhu, 42, 43 translations and purports.
Hare Krishna. 42. Didi said, it is very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of personality of Godhead and with his darshana weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of Brahmana devotees. Purport. When Diti heard from her husband that the great souls would be angered by the activities of her son, she was very anxious. She thought that her sons might be killed by the wrath of Brahmanas. The Lord does not appear when the Brahmanas become angry at someone, because the wrath of Brahmana is sufficient in itself. He certainly appears, however, when his devotee simply becomes sorry. A devotee of the Lord never prays to the Lord to appear for the sake of troubles the miscreants cause for him, and he never bothers him by asking for protection. Rather, the Lord is anxious to give protection to the devotees. Diti knew well that the killing of her son by the Lord would also be his mercy, and therefore she says that the wheel and arms of the Lord are magnanimous. If someone is killed by the wheel of the Lord and is thus fortunate enough to see the arms of the Lord, that is sufficient for his liberation. Such good fortune is not achieved even by the great sages. Text 43. A person who is condemned by a Brahmana or is always fearful to other living entities is not favored either by those who are already in hell or by those in the species in which he is born. Purport. A practical example of a condemned species of life is the dog. Dogs are so condemned that they never show any sympathy to contemporaries. Hare Krishna.
Okay, pretty straightforward. That it is requesting that at least my sons do not get killed by Brahmana's wrath, because Brahmana's wrath cannot be countered. The last part of this chapter, part 8, is verses 44 to 51. Kashyapa speaks about Diti's grandson, Prahlad Maharaj. So Diti started repenting and requesting to reduce the effect of the curse. So Kashyapa is trying to pacify Diti and saying that your grandson, Prahlad, will be a great devotee. So these verses are pretty straightforward. They are glorifying Prahlad Maharaj. Radha Shakti, 44 to 46 translations.
Verse 44, the learned Kashyap said, because of your lamentation, penitence, and proper deliberation, and also because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me, one of the sons, Prahlads, of your son Hiranyakashipu will be an approved devotee of the Lord, and his fame will be broadcast equally with that of the Personality of Godhead. 46. In order to follow in his footsteps, saintly persons will try to emulate his character by practicing freedom from animosity, and just as the purifying processes rectify gold of inferior quality. Purport as well, Prabhuji, 46.
That's okay.
That's okay. Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. That Prahlad Maharaj is being glorified here, and the remaining verses are also same way glorifying Prahlad Maharaj. Shivangi, 47 to 51 translations.
Hare Krishna, 47. Everyone will be pleased with him because the personality of Godhead, the supreme controller of the universe, is always satisfied with the devotee who does not wish for anything beyond him. The topmost devotee of the Lord will have expanded intelligence and expanded influence, and will be the greatest of the great souls. Due to mature devotional service, he will certainly be situated in transcendental ecstasy and will enter the spiritual sky after quitting this material world. He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun. Your grandson will be able to see inside and outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose wife is the beautiful goddess of fortune. The Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, and his face is always beautifully decorated with earrings. The sage Maitreya said, hearing that her grandson would be a great devotee and that her sons would be killed by Krishna, Diti was highly pleased in mind. Hare Krishna.
So Diti was finally pleased that at least her sons will not get killed by the wrath of Brahmanas, rather they will be killed by Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that at least one grandson will be a great devotee. Hence, Diti was pleased. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I just had a question. The Hiranyaksha who was killed by Lord Boar is different than Hiranyakashipu, right, Prabhu?
Correct. So they are two brothers. Will come up in the next chapter. That Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha are the two brothers. Hiranyaksha got killed by Varahadev, and Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad Maharaj, got killed by Narsimhadev.
Thank you.
We'll soon understand that who are these Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. They are essentially Jai Vijay, who got cursed and they took birth as demons in 3 lives. Well, soon it's coming up in upcoming chapters.
Since Varahadev killed Hiranyakashipu, the younger brother of Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyakashipu got annoyed and then was much against the Lord. Correct, Prabhu?
This was not the only reason. Why they were against the Lord was because they got cursed, and it is actually the Leela. So they are Jai Vijay in the spiritual world, and Jai Vijay got cursed by the Kumaras, and the curse was that, okay, you will take birth as demons on earth to satisfy Lord's fighting desire. So it was already built in as part of the Leela. Plus, of course, this is all this killing and again getting more angry on Vishnu is just part of the same Leela.
Thank you.
Shivangi?
Probably just the not realization, but something for me to think about. Lust and love appear very similar, but very different. It's so subtle to identify when you're in lust or when you're feeling like a love type emotion.
Yeah, so we have discussed this, that we have discussed in the other class where Shivangi is also there in batch 3 and 4. Just a couple classes back, we discussed that love does not exist in the material world to begin with. And few verses back, if you go back to verse number 19 of chapter 14, it clearly describes that when one is not satisfied by the other person at the physical senses level, that results in divorce. That essentially is like there is no love. And that same purport 19 goes on to explain that there is no love in the material world to begin with. So if anybody says about love, well, be very careful that it doesn't exist. It essentially is lust. We have also discussed that love does exist between devotees because that is not at the senses level. The love among devotees is to satisfy and glorify Krishna all the time so that we can revive our relationship with Krishna. Shivangi?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Prabhuji, may I make a small request with your permission to Shivangi? Her incisive questions are educative to me. But I have one problem which I am facing quite some time. I have been hesitant, but today I feel the courage to request her through you that her speaker is giving echo. I am not able to listen to totally her voice. Maybe she has to keep the speaker little away from her.
Who, Shivangi?
Yes, please.
Her voice is clear to me. So I think the problem.
Only with Shivangi's this thing I am having this echo quite some time. But I never wanted to.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with Shivangi. I am able to hear it properly. So this technology can at times have its own challenges. For example, Radha Shakti's speaker today is echoing at my place, and sometimes some other person's is echoing. So you can't really control that technology. You can't do anything.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay.
This is for us also. We are not able to hear Shivangi clearly, Prabhu.
I'm able to hear her properly.
Happening every time, except hers. Others we are able to hear, but I was planning to write a separate message to her. I don't know, some.
Okay.
I also felt the same thing every time.
So again, I'm able to hear it properly, therefore I'm able to answer. I can't really control the technology. Like at one place it's one way, the other place is other way. I can't do anything.
No, if the speaker little kept away, perhaps that echo may be avoided. I think so. Anyhow.
But I recall Shivangi generally has a headphone on. So it has nothing to do with the speaker. I can control her technology here. So for example, Mother Jija cannot speak today. She is connected the audio, but she can't speak today. So it's beyond our control.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, one homework question. Explain how husband and wife should cooperate for spiritual advancement. Comes from verse 17. And the second is read chapter 15 for next class. Questions, comments, realizations? Are we okay to stop here?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank